While most movie stunts are well choreographed and executed after months of training, it doesn't take away from the fact that sometimes things just go wrong. Let's look at the most dangerous stunts in movies that almost went very wrong, starting with none other than Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan is no stranger to taking risks for his art, but some of the stunts he performed in Police Story almost had disastrous consequences. At the time Chan was juggling several projects at once, the Police Story was rushed with not enough safety protocols in place. One scene required him to slide down a metal pole, but it was surrounded by lights that made it dangerously hot. This caused second-degree burns on his hand, but despite the pain, Chan went ahead with the stunt and finished working on another film the same day. Another stunt involved jumping off a building and crashing through a glass roof. Unfortunately, this one wasn't as successful. Chan ended up breaking his back and pelvis and was hospitalized for some time. Now that's what I call commitment. Speaking of commitment, the next stunt was a lot crazier than it looked on screen. In fact, Spider-Man's stunt double had gone numb for days. Being a stunt performer is no easy job. You have to be able to repeat the same stunt over and over again, day in and day out. Take Marvin Ross, one of Tom Hanlon's doubles on the set of Captain America: Civil War, for example. During Spider-Man's face-off with Captain America in the massive airport fight, Ross was attached to a cable that would slam him into the ground after the hit. On the first take, Ross did just that and hit the ground so hard he couldn't move. What made things even worse was that the directors just brushed it off and told him to do the stunt multiple times. At the end of it all, Ross was so exhausted he could no longer feel anything and couldn't even taste food for the rest of the day. While most actors almost always use a body double, some do everything themselves. That's why Tom Cruise gets injured quite a lot. Tom Cruise is known for his death-defying stunts in the Mission Impossible franchise, but it was one stunt gone wrong that gave him a broken ankle during the filming of Fallout. In a chase sequence involving Cruise and co-star Henry Cavill,
pretty much the biggest stunt in cinema history. Tom Cruise just rode a motorcycle off a cliff.
Cruise attempted to jump across rooftops with wires set up to ensure his safety should he fall. But he ended up landing with his foot first against the edge of one rooftop and fractured it. What made it even crazier was when Tom managed to get back up and continued shooting the scene, limping forward. Tom Cruise isn't the only actor who's this dedicated to his movies.
How do I know? CIA apostles, what difference does it make?
Okay, just get out of there and then go right.
I am terribly sorry.
Brad Pitt tore his Achilles during a scene in Troy. In 2004, Brad Pitt starred in the epic adaptation of Homer's Iliad on the big screen. He played Achilles, a hero of the Trojan War, who famously meets his demise after being shot with an arrow through his Achilles tendon at the back of his ankle. It's pretty ironic that he injured his Achilles while literally playing Achilles himself, but it could have been much worse. Many of the stunts and action scenes he performed were dangerous, so Pitt is pretty lucky that he escaped with only a torn tendon injury. There were others who weren't so lucky though. Michael J. Fox almost died on the set of Back to the Future 3. The third installment of the Back to the Future franchise was met with mixed reviews, but it still contained all the elements fans loved about the series. Michael J. Fox returned as Marty McFly for an exciting new adventure in the Wild West setting, but this was one stunt that nearly cost him his life. In one scene, Marty was about to be hanged for his supposed crimes. Fox had to grip the rope around his neck in order to avoid actual choking, but things went terribly wrong and the actor blacked out due to a lack of oxygen. Scary stuff! Just like Michael J. Fox, someone else also suffered from life-threatening injuries from a stunt. David Holmes broke his neck while filming Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Holmes was Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double for the Harry Potter film series until his accident on the set of Deathly Hallows Part 1. While it remains unclear which scene was being filmed when he got hurt, reports suggest that he was rigging up a fly and getting pulled back from an explosion. It seemed to have gone as planned, but Holmes was pulled so far back from the blast that he hit a wall and fell to the crash mat below. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, the impact caused a fracture to his spine, which resulted in paralysis from the chest down. He was rushed to the hospital and spent 6 months there being treated. During that time, his muscles had almost completely wasted away, and he wasn't even able to sit up for weeks. Despite this, Holmes had been incredibly resilient in dealing with what happened to him. He admitted that he still got flashbacks from the accident while drifting off to sleep, but he learned to live with and manage it. Another actor was also almost paralyzed after a terrible stunt accident. George Clooney injured his head and back in Syriana. George Clooney played a CIA officer in the political thriller Syriana, which followed multiple storylines involving politicians.
It's possible. It's complicated.
Of course it is, Mr. Barnes. Thank you for your time.
Oil tycoons, and more. His character was tasked with uncovering an illegal weapon trade in Lebanon, but was eventually apprehended. During one scene, he's shown being interrogated and beaten while still tied in a chair. Even though the stunt itself wasn't really that dangerous, Clooney sustained some serious injuries during the scene. He was thrown onto his back, which caused his head to split open and even fractured his spine to the point where spinal fluid started leaking. Yikes! If things went wrong, this small stunt could have potentially ended his acting career forever. And that's exactly what almost happened to another actor. Margaret Hamilton suffered burns on the set of Wizard of Oz. The iconic Margaret Hamilton brought the Wicked Witch of the West to life in The Wizard of Oz, but one stunt went terribly wrong and nearly put an end to her acting career. During a scene where the Wicked Witch was meant to disappear in a cloud of smoke and fire, the trap door that was supposed to open for Hamilton didn't work as planned. When the flames were released, they rose too soon and caused Hamilton to suffer from second and third-degree burns on her face and hands. If things couldn't get any worse, she was wearing copper-based green makeup, which had heated up so much that it was nearly melting into her skin. Margaret Hamilton wasn't the only one who almost died on a movie set. Isla Fisher almost drowned during Now You See Me. In one of the most iconic scenes from Now You See Me, Isla Fisher plays Henley, a character who uses magic tricks to complete daring heists. In this particular scene, she attempts to escape a tank filled with water while handcuffed and chained to the bottom before flesh-eating piranha are released into it. As Henley struggles to break free, the audience is led to believe she is suffering a near-drowning experience. But what the viewers didn't know at the time was that the chain around Fisher's ankles had actually got wedged under a slat near the bottom of the tank, preventing her from reaching the top. The cast and crew had no idea that Isla was in real danger and thought she was simply acting out her part really well. We couldn't even begin to imagine how scary that must have been. Those were the most dangerous stunts in movies that almost ended really bad. See you in the next video.